All right, want to welcome you here tonight. It's September the 12th. Joe, glad you're here.
Glad to be here, Shane.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun.
We were joking before our talk tonight that it's going to be a trashy talk.
We're going to trash talk tonight, right? Trashy, trash talk.
But it is going to be G-rated, right?
It is. It's going to be family rated.
So lots of good discussions that your commission and the council have all been having, really dating back for almost 10 years now, going back to the early 2000s. When I was elected in 2016, I remember that I met with Mayor Burgess and Jeff Davidson, his chief of staff, I think he called it, or deputy to the mayor.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had this discussion on what Rutherford County was going to do back even then about what was going to happen when Middle Point Landfill closed.
Yeah.
And so that's really been a lot of discussions over the last couple of years that we've as a city and as a county, we've really been talking about, I call it LAM, life after Middle Point. And
we're getting close.
Yeah.
We're getting real close. And
that number continually changes. But, really, we had some breaking news on last Friday, that the judge affirmed the decision of the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Board. I know many of us were very pleased when that decision came across, because I've read his whole ruling now, and it's one of the most thorough, detailed briefings that I've read, outlining why he thought the board made the right decision. And really, I think that affirms to the resident some of the things that are going to be happening out at Middle Point. So we were excited about that. I know the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Board, Darren Gore serves on the city, Bishop Wagner,
right.
Donna Barrett.
Right.
Then, back last year, the city intervened in that lawsuit, and lots of good things that have happened before then. So, our goal tonight is really to talk about what the city's doing, what the county's doing, how we're working together.
And we are working together and have been working together for a while.
Absolutely.
At least since I've been mayor, which is now a little over a year, you and I and Craig have had lengthy ongoing conversations about how we can solve this problem for our community. And I think we're making real progress. I really do.
I do too. And there's a lot of things that we can disagree on. I mean, there's plenty of those things.
Sure. But this isn't one of them.
Yes. Yeah, there's not one to say that, Joe, the numbers more than anyone. This notion that Middle Point Landfill is a Rutherford County or a city of Murfreesboro landfill. I mean, what's the numbers on how many counties and how much trash comes in?
So the 2022 numbers, there's over 1 million tons that were brought into Middle Point Landfill last year, and that is typically that's their run rate, anywhere between 1 to 1.2 million tons a year. Less than 30%, or about 30% of that, is Rutherford County, which includes the municipalities of Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, and Eagleville. The rest of that comes from outside the county. 72% of the trash that is at Middle Point comes from outside of the county. And as you and I have talked on numerous occasions, that's the big rub, because it's just not Davidson County, which comprises over 50% of the trash at Middle Point, but it's the 34 other counties in Middle Tennessee that bring their trash here. And, you and I have talked a lot, and we just believe that our community is much more than Middle Tennessee's trash can, sure. Rutherford County, and we can do better. Unfortunately, we are kind of held captive by a really bad host benefit agreement. That's trash talk for a contract that we had with BFI, now Republic Services, and so it's a really bad contract. You and I have talked about this before, but of all the contracts I've ever read, it is absolutely the most one-sided that I've ever seen. It's not just a bad contract for Rutherford County and Murfreesboro, it's a horrible contract. And so, unless Republic is willing to have a discussion about a Rutherford County only solution, I think they're going to find that Middle Point is not going to be an option in the very near term. Well,
and that's really what has started this whole process about The county has talked about a north transfer station. The city has talked about a south transfer station. Really, to be clear, in 2016, we had this solid waste authority, or the solid waste study committee. We called it a SWAC. I don't know what the A was for.
Was this the consulting out of Arlington, Virginia, or somewhere up there?
Correct, GBB.
Yes.
We put that together, and I think for the city, Paula Tour, myself, Kurt Wade sat on that committee. Every municipality had representation, and we went through this whole study, and it came back that the easiest thing was Middle Point 2.0. And I remember the entire committee, because we were sitting in the commission, the courthouse, and everyone just sort of had this look like, well, we knew that was the easiest, but that's not what is best for the community. So I think everyone agreed, and that's where like the transfer station discussions have come apart. So tell us.
Just let me, if I can interject for just a second. So Middle Point 2.0 is our talk for expansion of the existing facility, which Republic wants and needs to expand because of now the chancellor's ruling. They can't expand down Jefferson Pike on their own property.
Correct.
And so now what Middle Point or Republic needs to do is they need to figure out how they can secure the V, which is that piece of property between the existing Republic landfill and the old Rutherford County landfill. If they were able to secure that from Rutherford County, then that would add at least 30 and more probably 50 years of life to that landfill. That, for you and I, is a no-go.
Yeah,
it's a no-go. And because our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren deserve a better legacy than that. And so that's where we're stuck. And so for you and I, what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out diversion, how to not move so much trash into the ground, but also how to get solid waste independence for Rutherford County and its 4 municipalities.
Well, and that's, I think as a community, it's easy to say we want to bury our trash. I mean, so
it's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But in this case, I told a guy the other day that it's easy to go back 30 years and armchair quarterback about what we should have done 30 years ago, and I'm sure there'll be people who will sit and second guess what we did 30 years from now. But I think we all can agree that a super landfill next to our water source was not a good decision 30 years ago.
It is the largest Class 1 landfill in Tennessee, bar none.
Yep.
And it sits right on the banks of the Stones River. In deference to the leadership, like you said, 25, 30 years ago, they never envisioned, nor was it ever forecast, that Rutherford County and Middle Tennessee would experience the growth that we have.
Sure.
And number two, that all the trash in Middle Tennessee would come to Rutherford County, just north of Murfreesboro, because no other county is opening up landfill space. And so what has happened is that has accelerated the growth of that landfill and required us now to take some different measures about how we're going to deal with our trash and just say no to everybody else's.
Absolutely. And, I think that's one of the things that we can all agree with. And I will say this publicly, and I've said this, I salute you guys, the county, the Mike Cush and the Public Works Commission. I watch all those meetings and
God bless you.
Yeah,
I watch them too.
Yeah, and so there's this narrative out there, and that's one of the reasons that we wanted all of us to get together. That what's good for Murfreesboro is good for the county.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about
and vice versa.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this later about the Waste Away project. That we don't know if that's going to be the answer, but if it is, that's great for the county too. And the county taxpayer, the Murfreesboro resident is the county taxpayer, and vice versa. So that's what I wanted to make sure that we talk. More than anything, there is a lot of discussions that happen. Individual council members, commission members, Mayor Carr and I, our city staff, who, your team and our team are some of the most knowledgeable around on how. I mean, we're up to almost 50,000 cans that we pick up every single week. And so, Joe,
Well, I will say this. Bishop gave me some numbers today. Rutherford County recycles almost 120,000 tons a year.
That's great.
It is. And we've gone to single stream recycling, which is even better. It's going to save the county by going to single stream over $400,000 a year going to single stream. And then we've diverted from landfill over 52,000 tons. So the long-term answer is not to bury the trash, but what we have to get to, you and I, as leaders of our community, is we have to get to a place where we're solid waste independent, where we have control over, first and foremost, the trash that comes into this county. The second thing is once we get control over who, if anybody, can bring trash into this county, then what is our responsibility to deal with that waste product? And so what we need to do is right now we're building and in process of putting out to bid very shortly construction for a transfer station up at Landfill Road.
Yeah, tell us exactly what y'all have been working on.
Sure.
And really some of the solutions y'all have been.
So our immediate solution to get solid waste independent, Shane, is to build a transfer station so that we can be ready as a county for the inevitable of when Middle Point closes. We believe, i.e. Bishop and myself and some other independent experts and consultants believe that Middle Point's got a lifespan of 2, maybe 3 years on a push. Republic is saying closer to 5. Whether it's 2, 3, or 5 years is quite irrelevant. Rutherford County, Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, Eagle, we need to prepare for that closure because trash in the streets is not an option.
Right.
And so us building a transfer station, you guys building a transfer station, and then pursuing the potential benefits of a waste-to-waste solution help us deal with the necessary crisis that's coming. And I will tell you, I sat in on the Greater Nashville Regional Council today, a Zoom call with about 20, 25 other mayors. They're not paying attention to this because when Middle Point closes, Shane, that's a domino that falls, that puts a lot of pressure on the other landfills, of which there aren't too many in Middle Tennessee. Sure. So there's 1 million tons of trash that's got to find a home. That's not coming to Rutherford County anymore. And so we're building a transfer station so that we can deal with the Rutherford County trash, and we're going to do that in a responsible way.
Tell the Murfreesboro resident and the county residents who watch this, tell them what a transfer station
Sure.
is and sort of where y'all are building. I know Landfill Road.
Landfill Road. I say that too. I say County Farm Road too. I don't know why, but I do that too.
Yes,
so a transfer station is nothing more than the term implies. It transfers trash. If you're familiar with a Rutherford County convenience center, in a sense, that's a mini transfer station. The people in the rural parts of the area who don't have curbside pickup can take their trash to a convenience center and dump it into these open top containers, and there, when they get full, they're picked up and then take to final disposal at a landfill. Well, it's the same way with a transfer station, except on a much larger scale. The curbside pickup, the convenience centers will take that trash to the transfer station, deposit it, and then it's immediately picked up and put in large trucks, tractor-trailer trucks, and then hauled off for final disposal. The great thing about a transfer station is there is no trash left over there overnight. Everything is swept up and cleaned off every night and then ready to start the next day. So there is no trash lingering. There's not the smell. There's not the litter or anything like that. So it's not a landfill at all. It's a place, it's a very temporary place to deposit the trash so we can put it on a larger truck to move it to a landfill.
And that's for the resident who's out there, that's the study back in 2016 identified that there really needed to be 2 transfer stations, one on the north side.
I did know that. That's right. I did know that.
And so that's one of the things that the city's working on as well. You know, Joe, in the 20 plus years of doing this, I've completely lost my political filter on.
I'm sorry it took so long.
Yeah. So there's this. The city council, we bought 20 plus acres on Butler Drive 3 or 4 years ago with the intent that we needed to build a transfer station. And so what that means for the resident right now, if we pick up trash on the south side, so we pick up trash on 231 at Innsbrook, when we pick up that trash and the dump truck or our solid waste truck gets full, they then drive all the way down 231 south.
Oh, yeah.
Then they drive to Memorial.
Right.
They drive down Memorial, and they'll drive all the way to the other 231, and then take a right on Jefferson Pike, and then get to the landfill. So
No, well, wait, if I can, I want to interrupt you. But that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is once you enter the gates at Middle Point, now you're tearing up your equipment, you're blowing out tires. I've been up there twice. I've seen 2 different times your guys on the side of the road changing a tire.
Yeah.
And you wait 2.5, 3 hours, and they're not able to make their routes. And so it really creates problems for curbside pickup because these guys run a route, Shane, and they can't finish their route because they're being held up on the top of the mountain because they can't dispose.
I've argued, and I think it's hard to quantify this, but the amount of time that our team doesn't pick up trash is probably greater because they're either sitting at the landfill waiting in line with all the other.
Well, they got a breakdown.
Yeah. So what
a transfer station does, we've done the study and we look at it. We believe when you guys get yours built and we get ours built, the wait time will be 15 to 30 minutes max. They'll drive on a concrete pad that's swept off every day. They're not driving over trash. They're not getting stuck in the mud when it rains. They're not tearing up their equipment. Rutherford County, Shane, spends $10,000 a month in tires for our solid waste trucks.
Yeah.
It's $10,000 a month. We're not going to spend $10,000 anymore.
Rutherford County spends that, but ultimately the taxpayer spends.
That's correct.
And
Exactly right.
The taxpayer spends when we're picking up 50,000 cans a week. That means that we're paying overtime for those cans have to be picked up. So if they have to wait 3 or 4 hours at Middle Point, they still have to pick up.
They still have to pick it up.
And so the city is looking at, on this 23 acres or 24 acres, building a transfer station that has almost like a weigh station. Then that trash would go into a negative pressure warehouse, which there's this rumor that we're building a massive trash facility on the south side of town.
So, and I want to address that because I know that there's been somebody or some entity spreading really horribly inaccurate and in some cases out and out lies, because a transfer station, TDEC regulates that stuff. There is no smell, there is no litter. It's cleaned up every evening. There's not trash laying around and out in the open. Everything's in an enclosed metal building, and it doesn't work like a landfill at all. It's not a landfill.
A negative air pressure building, it means that everything stays inside.
That's right.
And that's really where you going on to the process, regardless of what we have planned next, we've all agreed that there has to be some place to take the municipal solid waste to be able to transfer it somewhere else. And what we've looked at, and the city TV staff, we're going to make sure that this is published after this, but back in December, I think November, December, January, they did some really good videos on YouTube that showed exactly what the city is looking into, and it really gives input and also information to show the resident, hey, here's truly what we're looking at. So we're looking at the transfer station, and we know the transfer station will work.
Oh, yeah.
Those are sort of no-brainers.
Well, there are a number of communities in Middle Tennessee that already have them. Williamson County has them. Gallatin, Sumner County have them. Coffee County has them. So a transfer station is a proven entity for moving your trash to its final destination. And just for the listeners and those who are going to watch this, a transfer station is zoned light industrial. Just so you know. So zone light industrial is different than a heavy industrial zoning. It's a light industrial. And so most of the residents won't know it's there unless they go trying to find it, to be quite honest with you.
Well, and that's, so what we've looked at besides the transfer station, if you have all this trash that's coming in, I think the number we generate 50,000 tons per year. We think the county generates 50,000 tons, not counting commercial pickup. So there's a lot of trash that's
I think
out there.
we're up to about 60, something like that. So between the two of us, we're in the 110 to 115 range. I think y'all are a little more north of 50 now, but you're right. You're looking at 115,000 tons between the two of us.
What we've looked at is this waste away process. And to be really clear and transparent, we don't know that it will work. Everything that we've studied so far, and that engineers who are a lot smarter than I am, some local engineers, we've hired Ryan Maloney, is a very sharp gentleman with Griggs Maloney, and they're working on an overall process. But the waste away process would be the trash comes into a transfer station. It's then transferred over to their facility, which would be on the same land. No burning. So for those who are getting flyers in your mailbox saying that we're going to be burning trash, there's no burning. The EPA actually has, in 2019, issued a clean standard saying that the fuel that is produced is a clean substitute.
Because you guys, it's pellets, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, so the waste goes into this process. It's about a 90% yield. 10% has to be diverted to a landfill somewhere else. It's a recycling process that goes through. They turn this in. You've been to the facility. They turn this into a fuel source, which is comparable to coal, but actually clean. And concrete companies, different companies can use that as a fuel source. But really what is changed in the last year or 2 years, the federal government has allowed RINs credits for producing renewable natural gas, RNG.
Well, that's why you've got the gas facility coming out to Middle Point. They're trying to capture that methane that is produced as a result of a landfill,
and I think
byproduct.
I think we all agree Middle Point has a lot of methane gas that's out there. So we are
There's a lot of gas out there.
We are 100% in support of catching as much of it.
You can interpret that however you like.
But there's a process now to where you can take this fuel, put it in an anaerobic digester that doesn't smell, it's no burning, and then that is produced into renewable natural gas, which then can be put in the system, and we get paid for producing that natural gas. Again, and we talked about this earlier, there's a lot of steps to be able to go through, but we really feel like if this is a win for Murfreesboro, it's a win for Rutherford County as well.
Well, I know that there's been talk in the mayor's office and in the county commission that we're real anxious for you guys, for this to work, because quite honestly, if it does, and I think there's great hope that it will, but if it does, I can envision us doing something quite similar adjacent to our transfer station up on Landfill Road. There's no reason why it couldn't. And quite honestly, then at that point, Rutherford County becomes a destination for innovative technologies, not just in solid waste, but some other things too.
And I'm not going to get into negative things about any group or organization, but it's just like, what group would not want a facility like that to succeed?
Exactly.
And that would be a group who runs a landfill.
That's exactly right.
Because, all due respect to those individuals, anything that we do to curb municipal solid waste to not having to go into a landfill cuts into someone's profit. And I think that's something that the city council has been diligent. I think the county commission has been diligent. Look, I wish that we didn't have to get thousands of odor complaints. I wish that we didn't have to, every time I drive down Memorial, and when I say every time, I mean almost every time, seeing an atomic truck full of trash coming from somewhere else.
Oh, I know. They come down 24 and they get off the exit there and they come down Thompson Lane and loop all the way around to 231 and of course head north to.
And my argument is, we have to do something. Inaction is not an option. I mean, we have to figure out something to do next. But the one overriding factor, and I think y'all watching y'all's meeting, there's not anything in solid waste that's going to be cheap or going to be free. I mean, we got a deal back 30 years ago that it was free. But I would argue with you, if you look at the traffic that our roads have, the infrastructure that we have to deal with now with these trucks, if you look at, I would gladly.
I would agree, but you and I might disagree just a little bit here. But so the gate rate at Republic for the independent haulers is $110 a ton.
Sure.
There is about 140, maybe 160,000 tons of trash that leaves Rutherford County and goes somewhere else because the independents do not take their trash to Middle Point. They take it to Smith County or they take it somewhere else. Well, why do they do that? They do it for one reason and one reason only, and that is because it's too expensive. Not on the gate rate, but on the wait time up on top of the hill and the wear and tear on their vehicles. I know several independents who work the Smyrna-Laverne area. Of course, they don't have curbside, and the only curbside pickup is in Murfreesboro. But outside of Murfreesboro, it's run by independents, and the independents have told me they will pay $110 at the gate per ton if they can get in and out in 15 to 30 minutes and not beat their trucks all to pieces. And so there is an opportunity, not for the county and city to make money, but to pay for this. There's a methodology that can pay for itself, and that way it's not a burden to the property taxpayers of Rutherford County and Murfreesboro. I really believe that.
I'm hoping that's the case. I mean, like
we're actually working on. We've got a pro forma, and we're working toward that direction. And we believe we've got a solid business plan so that we can, if not eliminate, certainly significantly reduce the impact on these technologies to the property taxpayers of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County.
And that's the one thing that's overriding anytime that we talk. I think watching the commission, I know that many of the commissioners are working hard on this, and then our council, we want to be able to have the least burden to our taxpayer that we possibly can. Understanding that there is a cost for example, with the city, there's a cost for curbside pickup. I think the average resident in Smyrna, Laverne, and even the county who are paying for curbside pickup are paying almost $30, in the $22 to $30 a month for curbside pickup. And there's a reason why, because they're the cost of just providing that service. So what overall, what I wanted the resident to get tonight, and I know Mayor Carr, I say Joe, and you'll hear him call me Shane.
It's Joe and Shane. It's Joe and Shane.
Ultimately, we're all in this together. I wanted y'all to be able to understand what the city's doing. I can't speak for anyone besides me when I say that the two things that we want you to know that we're working on. We're working on what's next, and that includes the Butler Road project. It's not a massive trash facility. It's nothing burning out there. We're going through our steps to be able to make informed decisions, and there's such distrust in politics now that everyone thinks.
Seems like we have a hard time just getting along, don't we? I want the viewers to know that Mayor McFarland and I and the city manager Craig Tyndall, we work very, very well together. We've been working well together a long time. I know there has been within the county commission some members who have said that we're not speaking. We speak a lot. We talk strategy. We talk operational plans. We talk about how we can benefit each other. We absolutely agree that what's good for Murfreesboro is good for Rutherford County, and what's good for Rutherford County is good for Smyrna, Laverne, and Eagleville. Absolutely. And so we're all together in this. And I know we disagree on little things, but honestly, there's not a lot of daylight between us on this issue. And
but I
want the people to know that.
And I think the one thing I want to commit, and I think this past Friday with the court ruling, I don't want to get into all the legal stuff, but I feel very confident in our council, the team that, I know, Joe, you can't get into commenting on this, but the city's not going to stop fighting to make sure that Middle Point is done the right way. And the city's not going to stop fighting to make sure that our water source is protected that all of the things associated with that landfill, because the other part with that too is when you and I are long gone, the city of Murfreesboro is still going to be processing the leachate that comes out of that landfill.
That's correct.
And we want to make sure that our team protects the resident of Murfreesboro. And so that is the one thing of all the promises that you'll hear politicians give you. The city's not going to back down on making sure that we're doing the right thing for not just the Murfreesboro resident, but for the Rutherford County resident. And there's a host of reasons that the county can't talk about the lawsuit that the city has with Middle Point, and I totally understand that. But we're going to make sure that we look, the mayor and the city council, we're not making these legal decisions.
Well, let's just say this. You're correct. We can't comment on it. But what I can comment on is this. We're all one community.
Absolutely.
That we are.
Let's see what questions we have. We try to keep these to about 45 minutes. Meredith
Carmichael. I know Meredith.
Okay, yeah, Meredith.
She's a regular attendee at our county commission meetings.
Okay.
She does a good job reporting on things.
Meredith, where can we read the whole court ruling? I'll ask CDTV3 if we can get that court ruling posted on our website. That it's about 32 pages. It's really in depth.
Yeah, I got it too, Shane. And what I can do is I can get Lisa Kay, my public information officer, to probably post that somewhere. So that's a really good question. I think if we both go after that, maybe the viewers can. Who want to get off in the weeds on that, we'll be able to find it without too much difficulty. I'll talk to Lisa Kay about that.
Yeah, I think that's good information. Do we have any other questions that are out there?
You touched on something while you're looking. You touched on something a minute ago that I want to make sure. And when right after I was sworn in, a lot of what we do, Shane, is we have to educate the public on the necessity for a responsible, competent solid waste management plan. And you and I both kind of take this for granted, but because we have had cheap solid waste removal in our county for a long time, we tend to think it's kind of like a birthright or it's owed to us. And the fact of the matter, it's not. And Rutherford County is quite unique in the solid waste world, where solid waste disposal is free, if not extremely cheap or inexpensive. The fact of the matter is, it's extremely important that we have environmentally responsible, competent solid waste removal, and here's why. Everybody demands clean water, and they should. Everybody expects reliable electricity, and they should. Everybody gets apoplectic if they don't get high-speed internet, fiber, right? Everybody just goes nuts if they don't get their fiber, and they should. Solid waste removal is just as important as those public services provided by local government, and at a certain point, we're going to have to pay for it. If we want good, reliable diversion technologies that find other ways to deal with a solid waste stream other than just burying it, it's going to cost a little bit. I don't think it has to cost a lot, but $30, $50 a month is not unreasonable for a solid waste plan that is environmentally friendly.
Yeah, and I think most people would go back 30 years ago and say we would be okay paying something to not have to.
It was the worst thing this county did in hindsight was to make it free, because it basically got us thinking it should always be free.
Yeah, and I think there was a rationale to that. I don't want to go back in.
I'm not going to second guess because I wasn't around. I mean, I was here, but I wasn't in the decision-making process. And I'm telling you, nobody envisioned Middle Point taking in 1 million tons a year.
Well,
nobody saw that coming.
But think about this. If you constantly have something that you don't pay for, you don't put value on it.
That's exactly right.
And so when you do get to a point that you have to pay for it, it's almost like, hey, the landfill, we're gonna suck you into giving you this free service. And so when we go to expand or ask for a new landfill, no one's,
So what's funny, and I would be interested to know from you, we haven't talked about this, so I'm kind of catching you off guard, but there are 2 departments in Rutherford County government that get more calls, both good and bad and indifferent, than any other department. It's PAWS, our animal department, and solid waste. And the reason is because those two departments interface with the majority of the public on a regular basis.
Yeah,
and so, just if you want to know how valuable your trash pickup curbside is, just decide not to pick it up for a month.
It's like what Ashley said. Ashley, I thought of two things when you said about Wi-Fi. Before my kids left to college, and I'd get mad about something, I was like, "That's it, no more Wi-Fi.
Exactly,
I'm turning it off."
It's punishment.
Yeah, but then it's that meme that you've seen before when the mom says that the family wonders what I do, and then all of a sudden she's like, "I'm going to stop doing it today." So that's the same thing with solid waste. That I've said that before. We pick up 55,000 cans or 50,000 cans per week. Divide that by 5 days, we're picking up 10,000 cans per day.
That's a lot of cans.
And that's the one service that the resident gets every single week. And when I get complaints, and we've got a great solid waste department, our employees do a great job. But, that one time that you miss it, at 50,000 cans, you're going to miss a can occasionally. And when I get that phone call, you wouldn't believe how our group were like, "Yes, sir, we missed that. We're on our way out."
Yeah.
But that's what.
And let me just do a big shout out to Bishop Wagner, Rutherford County Solid Waste Director. He is absolutely off the charts, a talent, dedicated, passionate. He and Darren Gore work extremely well together. They talk all the time. They both serve on the Central Solid Waste Board.
Yeah.
They both serve on that together. And so I think between Rutherford County and Murfreesboro, we got some extremely talented and committed people that we can both be quite proud of.
So here's a question for you,
Right.
Joe. Will Jefferson Pike from Memorial to the landfill road be improved for the transfer station?
We don't, first of all, the Jefferson Pike is a state route, and so is 231, and that would be entirely up to TDOT, not up to Rutherford County or Murfreesboro. I will say this, when the transfer station opens and Middle Point closes, you're going to see probably a 70 to 80% reduction in truck traffic out there.
And that's just numbers, right?
That's just a pure number. So you're going to see a significant decrease in truck traffic. Obviously, Jefferson Pike is going to be a whole lot cleaner because it's going to be a lot less traveled. But with regard to making any improvements to Jefferson Pike or 231, that would be determined by TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation.
This is another one for you. Are you aware? Well, this is for both of us. Are you aware that Middle Point is doing open house meetings to inform residents? Maybe an effort to get citizens on their side.
Yeah, I think they've been doing that. They've been having a large public relations push ever since we secured the services of an engineering firm to help us design a transfer station. So this PR push has been about 6 months now. I think that's great that they're doing that. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and I want to make something clear. They are also saying that they're negotiating with the county with how to resolve the long-term needs of the county and Middle Tennessee as a region with the expansion of Middle Point. They are not discussing that with the mayor of Rutherford County. The last time we had a conversation, Republic was in my office, and I said, I want a proposal on a Rutherford County only solution. That was probably 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, and I still haven't heard anything. So Republic, our best guess is they're not particularly interested in a Rutherford County only solution, but they want to continue to be the regional solution for 34 counties, and Walter Hill to be that solution.
Yep. And that's one of the things we feel confident in saying. I think our council has all agreed we will be opposed to any.
So let me be just really crystal clear here, because I don't want there to be any ambiguity. If I have to stand alone, I will not sell the V or negotiate the V for outside trash to continue to come to Rutherford County. I will stand alone if I have to. The great thing is I won't have to stand alone. There are literally thousands and thousands of people like you and I,
And I think
who think we're on the right course.
And I think the majority, watching your meetings, I love hearing Steve Piercy start talking about
Is he passionate?
His residents live it. I think
They do.
most of the residents who interact, and we do get passionate about it, because if you call me and you have a pothole in front of your house, at that moment, that is the most important thing that you're dealing with. And we've got residents on that northeast side of town, Las Casas, Milton, not as far out as Milton, but who've dealt with this over the last 10 years in just a significant way. So
This isn't a political issue.
No.
At all. This is a public health issue. And I think you and I have come to understand that. And that's why we're passionate about it. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I am too. I had a guy post on my Facebook page it was a couple of days ago that I'm sure you're for this when it fits your agenda. And look, I grew up hunting. I grew up in Monteagle, Tennessee. I grew up hunting. I grew up fishing. I grew up in the outdoors. But by no means would I be categorized as an environmentalist. I'm a country boy that grew up in the mountain that loves being outside. And I think the more that you get involved and you study this issue and you see some of the things that have occurred or are occurring, it's not about, environmentalists. It's just about right and wrong.
It is.
And it's about what's...
So I'm a farmer.
Yeah.
I don't run cattle anymore, but don't tell me a farmer's not an environmentalist. That's his livelihood. He's taking care. He's trying to be a good steward of the land. And it's quite honestly, as Christians, part of our faith demands we be good stewards for that which God has given us, and we're just trying to be good stewards here.
Well, and I've learned to be an environmentalist because, I'm not educated or was not educated to do that.
Yeah.
But you and I both believe, I think the commission believes and the council believes, you leave things better than what you found it.
That's exactly right.
And I don't want 30 years from now, the mayor of Rutherford County and the mayor of Murfreesboro sitting up here going, look what they did to us 30 years ago. Now, look, we can argue about traffic and other things that
We'll be here all night.
Yes.
On traffic.
But this thing we agree. All right, let's take a couple of more questions. We have, will there be any widening to Joe B. Jackson from the bridge to 231? The traffic on that road is already heavy at certain times of day, and these trucks will only increase the problem. The Joe B.
That cuts through that neighborhood, doesn't it?
Yeah, so County Farm Road from Joe B. Jackson from the bridge to 231, I don't think there will be any widening on County Farm Road where it goes through those neighborhoods. We built that road. That actually is the longest bridge in Rutherford County, in Murfreesboro.
I did not know that.
Is the bridge that goes.
That span is.
I'll
bet.
So, Lynn, I don't think you'll see widening from that section from the bridge back to 231, but I do think you're going to see that entire Joe B. Jackson interchange reworked and rebuilt specifically around Butler Drive. That's where Buc-ee's is going.
Yes.
We got a report the other day about the progress at Buc-ee's and utility relocation. I went to my first Buc-ee's this weekend on the way to watch the Vols play. It's a Friday afternoon.
And what was the takeaway?
I was amazed at how quickly people got in and out of there.
Well, I went to the one in Crossville last year.
That's where I went.
And I walked in. My wife wanted to go. We're way off topic now, but I've got to tell my Buc-ee story. So I don't do crowds real well, Shane. So I literally walked 20 feet in, and I turned and walked back out. I said, I'll wait for you in the car. It was massive. I was impressed by the beef jerky display. That is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
All right. Carter Ann had a question. So Mayors McFarland and Carr, you have no influence with TDOT. Carter Ann, I will tell you, we routinely meet with TDOT.
Yes.
Our traffic team meets with TDOT. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting about a month ago where we're working on partnering for this new Build Better Act and the projects that we have.
Because we met together on that to try to pull together our resources so we could get some things done.
We've applied for Carter for 231 from Thompson Lane to Jefferson Pike.
I thought, well, wait, we were going to extend it out even a little bit further.
Yeah, 1,000 feet past Jefferson,
right.
Past Jefferson Pike. So yes, but Carter, I think there's one thing. It's important. Just as hard as Mayor Carr and I are fighting for road projects, there's 95 other counties and a lot of other cities who are fighting for those same funds. Now, I will tell you, the city and the county, we have made the decision that we front load a lot of the money on building these projects just so we can show that we're putting skin in the game at the same time. So, I mean, I think
on the Jefferson Pike, I know it's the long-range plan for TDOT to extend the widening project from 840 to 231 at some point. That'll be the next phase. And then sometime down the road, depending on growth, that extension will come from 231 to 96. But that is on TDOT's plan. The whole issue with TDOT, it's like you said, it's a very, very competitive environment, and it's all about traffic count. And unfortunately, for the widening project at Jefferson Pike there at Middle Point, if we reduce the truck count by 70%, it's going to reduce the prioritization of that particular part of the project.
Which we would be okay with.
Yeah, we would be fine with that. We just want to reduce the traffic count, especially the truck traffic count. That will happen when Middle Point closes.
And Carter, I will tell you, you've got the North Transfer Station will be in Walter Hill. I hope the leadership understands that Walter Hill residents are extremely sensitive to the landfill issue. Look, there's no two people that would be sitting up here that understand what the Walter Hill community has gone through any more than the two guys who are sitting up here. So
the bottom line is the whole rest of the county, indeed the mid-state, have a debt to Walter Hill.
I agree.
Now, I don't know how you pay that debt, but we can start by making sure that when Middle Point's full, it's closed.
Yeah, but the transfer station, please know.
You won't know it's there.
Yeah, that track.
I'm telling you, you will not know it's there.
And that's
unless you go look for it.
And that's the same thing on the south side of Murfreesboro on Butler Road. That traffic people are talking about more traffic. That traffic's already on the road. I mean, that traffic, as a matter of fact, is now driving all the way across the city back and forth. And so what we're trying to do is alleviate traffic where it would be.
You will absolutely free up, especially truck traffic, because the great thing about the Butler Drive location, it's right on the interstate.
Correct.
And so the large trucks that are going to remove that trash for final disposal at some other location are literally 2 minutes from 24, and then another 10 minutes from 840 if that's where they wanted to go.
Joe, that's probably going to do it for us tonight. I want to publicly say I think you and Bishop, the hard work y'all have put in. I mean, my first 3 phone calls that I made on Friday were to you, Mike Cush, and Robert P. on the Public Works Committee to say, hey, I want y'all to know about the ruling that just came across. But there are things that, folks inside the community that we can agree and disagree on. We can talk about traffic. We can talk about other, development, the people who are moving in here. But look, I think the one thing that we all can agree on is making sure that we protect our solid waste future inside our communities.
I completely agree. And the fact is that from day one, Mayor McFarland and I have been working close together. It's been a really productive, good working relationship. And again, what's good for Murfreesboro is good for Rutherford County. And especially on this issue, there's not a lot of daylight between us. And we're going to continue to making sure that we have good solid waste solutions for our community by working together.
Well, folks, if we have more information that comes across, we probably should do more of these to talk about
Maybe we should bring Mary Esther, Chad, and Jason.
Absolutely.
that would be fun.
When Mary Esther comes in, she steals the show.
She does.
So
but that's okay. We know that going in, right?
That's exactly right. So, hey, I want to thank our city TV staff for helping put this together for our city. These guys have been here since 8 this morning, and it's a 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and they're still here working. So
Thanks, guys.
I want to thank them for
Appreciate it.
for their hard work in getting this pushed out. So until next time, I'll sign off for Mayor Carr and myself, and we will keep you updated on what's happening in Rutherford County and the city of Murfreesboro.
Thanks
Thanks
you.
so much.